If a small flock of cartoon bluebirds didn't help you get dressed this morning, that just means you haven't yet listened to Fine Tuning with Jim Hill and Drew Taylor. No, the black dress slacks, please. Thank you. And now, Jim Hill.
Welcome to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation, news, and commentary. I'm Drew's co-host, entertainment writer Jim Hill, and he and I are recording this episode on Thursday, March 7th, 2019. And I have to warn you right up front, folks, it's going to be another speedy show, because my co-host, once again, as soon as we finish recording today's podcast, has to drive like a madman down the 5 in rush hour traffic, all the way from Toluca Lake to Anaheim, because what is it you're doing again at Disneyland tonight?
I'm going to the throwback 90s night at Disneyland. So yeah, I've got another Disneyland trip this week, but I just wanted to update everyone on my ranking in Minnie's Moonlit
Oh
Madness.
yeah, that's right. The after hours trivia contest for not just Disney cast members, but people all over the company, right?
Yeah, I think there were about 400 teams. So you're looking at close to 1,400 people. And we ranked, are you ready for this?
Yep.
13th.
Oh, lucky 13.
Which is pretty good,
That is
right?
great. I mean, given
yeah.
that you were probably actually competing from a team against a team from the actual Disney archive.
Right, exactly.
That's extraordinary. Holy cow. Congrats.
Yeah.
And again, toughest question. Did we ask this last time?
The toughest question was the weight of the fish bag in Pacific Wharf. You know, there's like that giant kind of ropey bag full of fish. That was really hard, as well as the collegiate pendant that's in the fake barber shop on Main Street, right?
We did talk about this. Oh, okay.
So,
but again, 13th.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
killer. That's killer. Okay, and interesting again. Now you're going to a 90s Disney event celebrating the 90s, because on the second half of today's show, we're going to be featuring audio from an interview that you recently did, like Monday of this week with the director of Mary Poppins Returns, Rob Marshall. And over the course of that interview, you scored several, really for real scoops here. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Second half of the show, folks. All right, now to the news. And the big news today is the Disney shareholders meeting held in St. Louis. So now we know when Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is opening up, and
part of it.
Part of it. There we go. And that we also need reservations for the first 3+ weeks that it's open in Anaheim, which gives me reservations about the whole Star Wars Galaxy's Edge project. But I'm not going to be a jerk here about this. I'm going to be a jerk about the Disney Plus news. Iger supposedly said from the stage that the entire Disney Vault is going to be available to be played through Disney Plus, and which again is this subscription streaming service. So, did that make you think about the film? What do they say about Voldemort? They get
the film we dare not speak its name.
There we go.
It did make me think about that, among other things. But I was wondering, would Song of the South make an appearance? I cannot imagine that it would, but
you can't say something like that. And face it, yes, there are whole chunks of the Disney Vault, whether it's the early black and white shorts with Mickey from, the early 30s, where he appears in blackface. I wonder, are we talking about like the cigarette scenes that got cut out of Pecos Bill from Make My Music or Melody Time?
Right.
When you say the whole vault, I'm suddenly intrigued. What are you looking forward to seeing?
I was wondering if they were going to have things like, like the opening of Epcot celebration with Danny Kaye, things like that. Like, how deep is this vault going, and how are they amassing this? And also like subsidiaries like Touchstone and Miramax and Hollywood, are those going to be represented? I have a lot of questions about Disney Plus, but yeah, it would be fascinating if all 57 Disney animated features are there, along with things like Song of the South.
The one I really want to see if it shows up. You ever heard of Scandalous John?
No.
Oh, okay. This is from 1971. This stars Brian Keith as basically sort of Don Quixote, but set in modern day. It's about a rancher who's down to like just 2 or 3 cattle, long longhorn cattle. His land is being taken by eminent domain because they want to build a dam so they can make the desert bloom. And so he's going to drive his cattle to market and sell them and save the ranch. And it all goes horribly wrong. I mean, Brian Keith actually dies at the end of this movie. A spoiler. And in fact, the reason you'll love this, it's John Ritter that kills him.
Wow.
John Ritter's like 5 in this movie. I mean, all right, maybe he's 20. You've never seen him younger. But again, he's the guy who ends up killing Scandalous John. But it's coming to market at the exact same time that Walt Disney World is opening. So Walt Disney World is a place that took a swamp and flattened it and put a theme park in. So Disney is frantically trying to get the Magic Kingdom open. And they've been sort of paying attention to Scandalous John. And then they realize, wow, this is coming to the market the exact time we open Walt Disney World. And it's all about giant evil corporations destroying the beauty of nature. It was this kind of token release, and then it went back into the vault. It's also worth seeing for, honestly, the worst special effects sequence in the history of the Disney company, because it actually ends aboard a train. And I think John Ritter accidentally kills Scandalous John on the train, but there's also a train wreck that clearly is being done with HO scale trains,
This sounds like it could be a perfect double feature with the Lone
There
Ranger.
we go. No, come on. I'm one of.
I love the Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger too, but
it.
yeah, well, maybe you're right.
Well, what do you think this is? Is this going to have an effect on the Treasures from the Disney Vault night on TMC as well? I saw that there's going to be another one on Monday, March 25th, with a mixture of live action and animated stuff. But I wonder what that's going to do.
I have the uneasy feeling that that's going to go away. And I do hope that Disney is smart enough to make use of Leonard Maltin to do something like this to provide context for films like Scandalous John.
Right, yeah.
Because again, I've always loved Leonard's work. But you also have to wonder what else is going to show up at Disney Plus. Are they going to bring in any outside productions? Is this strictly Disney produced stuff, Pixar, Lucasfilm, the works? Because I know of one show that's suddenly looking for distribution. I mean, have you been following this whole Vox Machina thing?
A little bit, yeah. I think you've been more in depth following it, but it's an amazing story. It really is.
This is a Dungeons and Dragons based entertainment, very popular online. In fact, it has this whole fan base of folks that call themselves critters, the Critical Role team. That's what I should be saying here. They decided, let's do an animated version, and that they set up a 42-day long Kickstarter, and their goal was to get $750,000, which would then allow them to produce this Critical Role special. And the thing is, they raised the original $750,000 in less than an hour, and now jump ahead, we're 4 days into the campaign, and with over 42,000 backers. I think earlier today they just rolled past $6 million.
Wow.
And that beats the previous Kickstarter record, which was to revive Mystery Science Theater 3000 back in 2015. But now, it's gone from one 22-minute long special to it's either now 4 22-minute long episodes or 6. They're now looking for distribution. They're now looking for a home. And what this reminds me of is the success that the McElroys, they also do an amazing Dungeons and Dragons, or did an amazing Dungeons and Dragons based show called Adventure Zone that my daughter Alice was nice enough to introduce me to, and a wonderfully entertaining show, which also has had this bizarre life beyond the podcast. They did a graphic novel last year of the first campaign for the Adventure Zone, Here There Be Gerblins. And it wound up on the New York Times bestseller list in June. It was the top of their paperback trade fiction section and was 3rd overall on the list. What I love about this is that this is stuff that is outside of the corporate creation system, where the DreamWorks and the Disneys and those folks play. And the fact that this sort of crowdfunded stuff that'll have its own unique voice and its own unique style. And in fact, they've reached out to Titmouse. Titmouse is going to be animating this thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they do all that wonderful work for Disney. So more power to them and more power to the Critical Role folks. Really looking forward to this project, and also want to remind all you Adventure Zone fans out there that the second graphic novel in the series, The Murder on the Rockport Limited, is arriving in stores on July 18th. And I'm just putting it out there. If the Critical Role folks can get an animated special, I would love to see an animated version of Magnus Burnside, Burl High Church, and Taco. So somebody make that happen.
Yeah, can we get a Kickstarter going for this podcast?
Nova needs better dog toys, all right?
She does.
This dog has had a hard life, folks. Anyway, we touched on DreamWorks just a second ago. I guess let's circle around to How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World. Just, finished weekend 2 at the box office here stateside.
Stayed at number 1.
Stayed at number 1, 30 million in ticket sales. 45% fall off on opening weekend, which again, these days is considered acceptable, right?
Yes, it is. They were worried about it being over 50, but I think they were very happy that it was 40.
So 98 million to date, probably will swip over the $100 million barrier fairly shortly. Worldwide ticket sales so far, 375 million, better than the original Dragon, which had a worldwide gross of 351 million. Still has a ways to go to beat the second installment, which total back in 2014 was 621 million, I want to say. I was talking with folks at Universal, especially Universal Creative, about how well Hidden World is doing in China. Over there, all by itself, it's made $115 million at the box office. And the reason I was kind of touching base with them is, do you know what Universal Studios Beijing, the park that's supposed to be opening over there, I want to say 2020, 2021?
No, I haven't heard anything about it.
When they opened Universal Studios Singapore, they had some DreamWorks-inspired rides. In fact, they actually built an entire far, far away land at that park. And they've since added a Puss in Boots coaster, and there's a Madagascar section with a water ride. And so those attractions were going to be cloned for Beijing. But now, because Dragons has done so well at the Chinese box office, there's some discussion about, hey, should we maybe this be the place to debut our first ever How to Train Your Dragon attraction?
We were talking about the Dragons TV show, and I thought it was so funny because I saw it on last night, and that show still has TJ Miller as the character, whereas in the third movie he's booted and there's a sound alike. Yeah. It's not even another actor; it's just it's a sound alike. But it's really interesting that he's still on the show but not in the movie. Not
to go after Mr. Lassiter again, but TJ actually has kind of kept his head down. He has, yeah. He seems to be out doing his penance. It'll be interesting to see if at some point he gets to come back. And I guess we have to talk about what's going on with Lego Movie 2, the second part.
Yeah.
You liked this movie, right?
Oh, I liked it a lot. Yeah, I'm shocked that it's doing so poorly. It looks like it's going to struggle to meet the half of the total of the first movie, which is just a crazy drop off.
And how would you like to be the folks at Legoland Florida who on the 27th of this month are opening up their Lego Movie World land at their Florida park? And you want to talk about nasty 1-2 punch here. Okay, so you're opening this brand new land at the time when the second film is, well, not tanking, but underperforming at the box office. And then at the exact same time, SeaWorld is opening its brand new Sesame Street thing. So not only are you having to deal with difficult questions about the second Lego movie, but only half the reporters are showing up to ask these awkward questions because, the other half are down the street at Sesame Street. By the way, the last time this happened, Drew, were you down in Orlando for the opening of Avatar: The World of Pandora?
No, I was down in Florida for the opening of Volcano Bay.
Same thing. Exact same day. And I think you and I both were for Volcano Bay that day.
Yep. When it was mostly finished?
Yeah, mostly finished. I mean, I still remember climbing stairs for the aqua coaster as they were nailing the steps into place. It was an interesting day. So
It was fun.
well, speaking of fun things, you just got to do a very cool thing. You were at the Mary Poppins Returns Media Day, and this was for Walt Disney Home Entertainment, right?
Yes, it was. There was a great press conference with Rob Marshall. He actually brought out Angela Lansbury and remembered her name from Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which I could not. If that was a trivia question on Minnie's Moonlit Madness, I would have flunked it. So, I mean,
that one is front of brain for me. I mean, I have no math, no science, but who doesn't know Eglantine Price? All right,
Eglantine
yes, Price.
Yes.
You know, substitutionary locomotion. I mean, come on, Drew, keep up.
Yeah, I know. I like Bedknobs and Broomsticks, but I just have not seen it a lot. I don't think it was as readily available as Mary Poppins when I grew up. So, yeah. Blame the vault, Jim. Blame the vault.
We'll circle back to the vault in a moment. But anyway, speaking of getting back, folks, we're going to step away for a commercial, and when we come back, wait till you hear what Drew got out of Rob Marshall.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. New players, new games, new rules. Squid Game, The Challenge returns for a gripping second season. 456 contestants from all walks of life, competing in the ultimate test of strategy, alliances, and endurance. For a life-changing prize of $4.56 million. With stakes this high, why make friends when you can make millions? Watch Squid Game, The Challenge Season 2, only on Netflix November 4th.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst. Healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
And we're back. So this was the junket for Mary Poppins Returns. The digital version of this Walt Disney Pictures release is available today, folks. If, on the other hand, you're waiting for the Blu-ray or the DVD, that doesn't hit store shelves till the 19th. So right off the bat, Drew, you have compromising intel on Rob Marshall, some photographs he doesn't want released. How did you get him to answer these questions?
You know, I think Rob Marshall and I, we were just vibing. Okay. You heard the audio, you know, I think we're on the same level of nerdiness. Although I asked him a question about unionization being a part of the movie, and he was like, you know, I never even thought about that. So maybe I've thought about Mary Poppins Returns more than Rob Marshall at this point. But yeah, I think we just got along really, really well, and I think you can hear it in the audio.
Well, I love talking to you about the research you did for this movie. So I want to know, did you look at the script they were working on in the 80s for Mary Poppins Comes Back?
No, but I heard about it.
Okay.
But I heard about it. I heard there had been one, but never had seen it. Didn't even know it was possible to look at it.
Right.
But it's, I will say, it was interesting that it took 54 years. So it made sense that they would have tried at some point.
Right.
But we know P.L. Travers was famously incredibly protective of that material, so that's what that was. I think that's what that was all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there anything you found in your research that you wish you had included? Not necessarily a deleted scene or anything, but any kind of aspect or ephemera that you had come across and said, "Oh, I wish I could have found a place for it in this movie."
From the books, you mean themselves?
Yeah, or anything that you came across in the archives, or any of that stuff.
Right. Well, you know what? In the books, we did make I went through and really every book to see what I thought were possible musical adventures. That's really what I was looking for. What would be set pieces that could work? And so we chose to use the ones that we thought were the most, were the strongest. But there were others. There were other interesting ones along the way. I'm trying to remember now what they might have been.
Did you sort of put those in a bin and say, if we do another one, we can sort of
never thought about a number one.
Okay.
Never thought in those terms. Just thought, well, here are the ones that could possibly work. I remember making a long list of different ones, and we really used sort of the strongest of them all. So there's nothing that actually. I'm just like going through my head, trying to remember what they were. but they've kind of receded now in the background. But there is a lot of material.
Yeah.
Although a lot of it is repetitious.
Right.
I mean, you even see in our film clearly that there's repeated things because that's how the books live.
Right.
I mean, you don't have Uncle Albert, but you have Topsy Turvy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's
echoes. Yeah.
that's how she wrote.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I was really curious about, and I thought was very interesting from a Disney history standpoint, is that you have a character who's fighting for unionization.
Yes.
And we know that unions were a very touchy subject here and almost brought down the studio.
Yes,
I was wondering if there was any sort of guardrails that you came across or anything.
Wow, God, I never made that connection.
Yeah.
Because I don't think of that in those terms. But yes, you're absolutely right that was part of this. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I loved it that where it really came from, this whole idea that Jane would be a union organizer, it came from being passed down the sense of rights for workers, rights for women's votes. It really came from the mother.
Right.
Yeah. And the suffragette movement.
Right.
So that was the connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just, as a nerd, I thought,
I love
this
that.
is a
I love that you're so deeply connected to all that.
I wanted to do some kind of lightning round stuff with you. Favorite costume in this movie?
I have to say Emily's tiered dress in the animation sequence. Because, it is a perfect example of the painting that Sandy Powell was able to accomplish that was so extraordinary. When you look at it, it looks like a tiered dress, and it's not. It's one flat piece of fabric that's painted as a tier. So that's like a perfect example, and also it represents moving into that live action animation sequence, which was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Well, I was going to ask what your favorite musical sequence was, and
no question. Well, it's a tie.
Oh, okay.
For me, because it covers not the book, because it was a chance to do this extraordinary thing and very complicated, to create a live action animation dance, which had to be, carefully orchestrated. John DeLuca and I choreographed every inch of it because of the all of the requirements of the hand-drawn animation.
Right.
So, and also it was both Lynn and Emily. It was the first thing we shot because we had to turn it over to animators right away. It was most complicated because it involved, working with penguins and and animal dancers and animation.
Right.
So that was thrilling and exciting to work on, and also to have Emily dance. I didn't know she could dance as well as she did, and she's extraordinary, and Lynn too. So that was really fun. That was joyous. And then I have to say, because I come from dance, and I'm a male dancer, obviously, when I was sort of a young athletic male dancer, and so doing Triple Little Life Fantastic and creating an 8-minute long production number of that scale was thrilling.
Well, I was going to ask you, I don't know if it's official yet, but there's been talk, obviously, that you're going to do another big project for Disney. Has this experience sort of prepared you in some ways for Little Mermaid, or is that going to be a whole nother technical can of worms?
I will say, I was just thinking about this the other day, that every movie I've done has been an enormous challenge. I've never sort of done the easy film, the two people in a room talking film. This next one, The Little Mermaid, is massively challenging because of how to create a world underwater. Half of the movie is underwater, and to create a world that actually comes to life in a way that's actor friendly when you're shooting it, and bringing that world to life. I mean, I do love creating worlds. That's something I've always loved to do, no matter what world I'm diving into. So that's thrilling. But this one is incredibly challenging. I think all the films I've done help me to the next film.
Right.
I mean, I always feel like when I start, I'm literally like, it's my first film. I always feel like, wait, how do you do this again? Because each one has its own challenges. But this one, we're already starting to prep now because it's complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you said you love practical things and having things for actors to interact with. There will not be a singing crab on set. So is that?
But you know what? There will be.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because I think what I know that I need actors to work with actors. I just can't work with just voices or just the script supervisor standing there reading the lines.
Yeah.
So I probably will involve some puppetry
Okay.
to help with that, to help the actor. It's all about making it come alive for the actor so they can bring the performance to life. So I will be very careful to make sure that it's not done in a void.
Right.
That people will feel like they can interact with something, and I'll probably have actors on the set too, doing that with them.
Well, do you have you've obviously sort of taken a Disney property from this kind of golden era, and now the kind of Disney Renaissance you're approaching now. Is there a different sort of approach that you sort of go?
Well, here's what it is for me. Mary Poppins hit me in a very deep way because of the age I was so young.
Right.
So, but I know that the people that were that age when Little Mermaid came out, it means that much to them.
Right.
You know, I certainly appreciated it so much. It was the Renaissance, as you said so beautifully, of the beginning of ushering in animated musicals, and musicals in a way. Musicals, even on film in any shape or form, had sort of gone away. And that was the beginning in 1989. And so that I do feel, carrying the mantle of that is important. It's a very important film to a lot of people.
And you're getting to continue your relationship with Lin-Manuel. What is your sort of collaborative process like?
Well, he is the greatest collaborator, and human being around. He's such an authentic person. I always think of that word when I think of him. He's just such a true person. He doesn't, one of the reasons I wanted him to play Jack in this film, as an example, is because he's not jaded in any way. There's such an enthusiasm behind everything he does, and he really embodies that character of Jack, in that he brings his childlike sensibilities. They're just there. He doesn't have to even work to get them there. He's just who he is. So I will work with him anytime, anywhere, and he knows that. And so getting to work with him on the other side of the table as a lyricist, as he'll be working with Alan Menken on this new material, is exciting.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
My last question is, I know you come from Broadway, and that is a huge part of your world. Did you look at the fairly recent Mary Poppins stage production?
I saw it in London.
Okay.
But I didn't return to it again because I just thought, first of all, we're doing something completely else. We're not doing a remake, so we're doing something else. So that didn't help inform anything for me. And I just remember seeing it in London and thought, wow, that's exciting. They've done, they've reimagined it and so forth, and created it for stage, but did not work from it because I really worked for. Knowing that we were a film. Yeah. It was really about being a sequel to the film.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So it's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you too.
At these sorts of junkets, especially the ones for home entertainment releases, the PR people at the studio only want the interview subjects to talk about what's about to hit store shelves. But you got Marshall to talk about his very next project at Disney, which hasn't even been officially announced at this point.
Yeah, when I started asking him questions about his live action remake of The Little Mermaid, I looked around the room, made sure no one was going to yell at me, and then turned my back to the publicist and back towards Rob Marshall, because you know what? Out of sight, out of mind, I just had to ask the question. But at some point during this interview, somebody called me on my phone. It was a telemarketer, and it cut out a little bit, but Rob said this great thing about saying that he already had mermaid experience because he had mermaids on Pirates of the Caribbean, on Stranger Tides.
Oh my God, you're right. Now Ariel's
very different kind of mermaid.
Ariel's not going to have teeth and eat people, right?
Right.
Disney hasn't officially gone on record yet that Rob has been signed to direct the live action mermaid, right?
Yeah, there's been no press release or anything.
Okay, there's been stuff in the trades this is in development, but to hear him talk to you, this thing is in active development. In fact, what I absolutely love about this interview is you got him to talk about how they're going to handle Sebastian the Crab in the live-action mermaid. So, by the way, when did you first get to see the animated mermaid?
I remember being taken to see The Little Mermaid at the Galaxy Theater in San Antonio, Texas, by none other than Academy Award-winning actor Tommy Lee Jones, because I was best friends with his son. And yeah, he took us to see The Little Mermaid, and I vividly remember that still in my mind.
You got taken to the movies by Tommy Lee Jones?
Yes, Tommy Lee brought us there, and I think he enjoyed it too. He was kind of a big kid at heart, even though he has a very let's say, not nasty, but he likes to make interviewers cry. So, you know, he's a sweetheart. He took us to see Little Mermaid. So that's when I remember that very vividly.
Holy
yes.
cow. I cannot believe I'm hearing this story for the first time. All right. Anyway, back to this killer interview. To give Marshall credit, it was also smart of him to tie his answer back, you know, given the publicist sitting in the room, you know, to Mary Poppins Returns.
Well, I wanted to know what he thought about, you know, he took a beloved sort of really classic Disney movie, and this is a newer kind of classic.
Rob isn't just working with Alan Menken on this thing. And Menken, of course, is, you know, the guy who wrote the Oscar-winning songs and score to this 1989 Walt Disney Pictures release. But he's brought in Hamilton himself, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's working with Menken on brand new numbers to sort of supplement the score of the live-action Mermaid, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is another confirmation that has not been publicly released yet. But yeah, Lin-Manuel is working with Alan Menken, which is just so cool.
Given that Miranda played Jack the Lamplighter in Mary Poppins Return, Rob already has a high opinion of the guy.
Well, I have to ask you a question. Do you think by listening to this that maybe he's already filmed something?
Well,
my theory after hearing him talk is that maybe he's shot some test footage, much like they showed for The Lion King at the last D23, that will be unveiled at this summer's D23, because the level of detail and specificity he talked about for a movie that has yet to enter production has me thinking.
Yeah, and remember, there is in fact precedent for this. And I'm not just talking about the Lion King thing that Favreau showed us at the 2017 D23 Expo. Do you remember when they called it the shoebox version of Coco?
Oh, I love that. I wish that was somewhere. Put that on Disney Plus, please.
That's it exactly. I mean, that was when it was a full-blown musical, and they literally travel through the entire world of Coco. And only in the last beat of the song, they revealed that there's this live little boy in this world, and they do that kind of Monsters, Inc. reaction, like, oh boy, ooh.
Yeah.
I want to see that again, but yeah.
Yeah, you know that at the time, I think it still is, it was the longest single shot in Pixar history, that shoebox thing.
Oh, come on, guys. You gotta put this in Disney Plus. We gotta see this thing again. No, trust me, folks. It was amazing. And again,
it was amazing.
Ethan Hunt would be so proud of you to pry all of this Little Mermaid info out of Rob Marshall at the Mary Poppins press event. And with no sodium pentothal involved at all.
No, nothing.
Speaking of Mission Impossible related crud, we have to talk about your Light the Fuse podcast.
No, well, I mean, but when this show comes out, it'll be on in 3 days. So I got almost 3 hours with Brad Bird. So it'll be at least 3 episodes. And actually, I have to thank everybody at Pixar who helped pull this interview off, because they really vouched for me. And he remembered me from being at Pixar a few times. And so I really have to thank them. The interview is amazing because of him, obviously not because of us, but it is really like the Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol commentary track that he never got to record. So I hope everybody listens and listens to older episodes. I'll be at the junket for Dumbo this weekend, so I'm going to try to make that Danny Elfman connection so he can come on and talk about the score for the first Mission Impossible. So yeah. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff in the future, too.
New episodes typically pop up when?
Every Friday morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time.
Very cool. Okay. Over here on this side of the fence, so we got the Disney Dish podcast with Len Testa, Looking at Lucasfilm podcast with Dan Z. We got Marvel Us Disney podcast with Aaron Adams. We also have Universal Joint with Dustin Fuse, and we have our brand new podcast, I Want That, with Michelle Valladolid, who, yes, is my ex-wife.
And how's that going, Jim?
We're 2 episodes in, and nobody's been injured so far, so I'm a happy guy.
It's all part of the healing process.
Okay, we'll let you know on the other side of episode 3. Tell you what, if you could do myself and Mr. Taylor a favor, if you could head over to iTunes and rate our shows and recommend them for friends. More to the point, if you want to reach out and let us know what topics you'd like us to discuss on future fine tunings. If you like what you have here, we do have Bandcamp, we encourage subscriptions, and we're putting together some exclusive material, and Drew has places to go, so we'll be back soon with another episode of Fine Tuning. On behalf of Mr. Taylor, thanks for listening.
Be sure to tune in again for another fine episode of Fine Tuning with Jim Hill and Drew Taylor.